Om Jnanatimandasya Karanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Who's ready to read the English for that?
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Okay, so we are continuing on from last week. We're talking about sannyasis. So, 5th chapter, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. Last week was text 6. This week is text 7, which is one of my personal favorites. Lovely verse. So text 7 this week. So just recapping on last week. So I mentioned here 2 different options. One is renouncing all activities, and the other is engaging in devotional service. So in Prabhupada mentions in the purport, this is these are generally the ones that give up all their activities are generally titled Mayavadi sannyasis. So that sannyas means to renounce or detach, and those that engage in devotional service, they're known as Vaishnava sannyasis or Vaishnavas. Actually, all pure Vaishnavas are automatically sannyasis in terms of they've given up all materialistic activities because they're so absorbed in loving services to the Lord. So automatically one engages in loving service to the Lord, one becomes detached from all material activities. So in that way, technically, you could call anyone that's engaged in pure bhakti a sannyasi, although they may be a family person with wife and kids, or they may be or anything. But in terms of giving up materialistic activities, that definition, then they could also be called a sannyasi. Although in the normal traditional sense, a sannyasi designation would be given to someone that's finished up with family life, the kids have grown up, they're settled, they have their own families, and then the husband and wife would retire from family life and travel to holy places for some years, develop more austerities and detachment, tapasya, and detachment. And then when the husbands become full up with spiritual knowledge and developed a strong desire to want to spread transcendental knowledge, then the wife would go back to the grown-up son, to one of the grown-up sons, to be looked after by the grown-up son, and then at that point the man would take sannyas. So that's in the traditional sense. That sort of naturally happens towards the end of one's life. But for someone that's engaged in bhakti, as long as one's fully engaged in devotional service, then truly speaking, one is a sannyasi, because Krishna gives that definition in the Bhagavad Gita, that a sannyasi is one that's given up all sense gratificatory activities, selfish activities. So a Vaishnava devotee is doing that. So he's a sannyasi, he or she is a sannyasi also. So that we talked about last week. 2 different kinds of transcendentalists. Oh yeah, I should say that the Mayavadi sannyasis, they are impersonalists. Their objective, their goal is the all-pervading, impersonal, unmanifest Brahman. So they're focused on that aspect of the Supreme. As we know, the Supreme has 3 features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So they're focusing on the Brahman, which is hard to focus on because, so as mentioned, it's a difficult path to focus on the spiritual energy hard to have a relationship with energy and so forth. But there are those that prefer that. That's their goal. And then the Vaishnava sannyasis, they're personalists. So sometimes it'll be mentioned the words impersonalists and personalists. So that's what that's meaning. The personalists are focusing on Bhagavan, on Krishna, or his different forms like Ramachandra or Narayana, Vishnu, some personal form of the Supreme. And the impersonalists, their objective is the energy. And generally, what do they want to do? They want to merge with the energy. That's their objective usually, is when the body dies, their perfection for them is they'll become one with the energy. They'll merge into that all-pervading energy. So that's their objective. Whereas for a personalist, we don't want to become one with the Supreme. We want to maintain our individuality and have a loving relationship with the Supreme, so that when the body dies, we go back to the spiritual world, which is known in Sanskrit as Vaikuntha, as a part of our anxieties, and we have our spiritual form there in the spiritual world, and we have loving relationships there with the Lord in the spiritual form and other devotees in their spiritual forms. So the individuality is maintained, but a spiritual individuality, not like this individuality here, which gets bitten by spiders and so forth. not a material body that grows old or gets sick and dies, but a spiritual body, which is Satchidananda Vigraha. That means eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. So that kind of form, very wonderful form, actually set our spiritual body, which we have now. I mean, all of us now have a spiritual body. We are a spiritual personality, but we're just covered up by this material form. But as soon as the spiritual form transcends or gets out of this material form, it's said to be dazzling like the sun. Just think about that, Gulshan, Bhakti Mala, Josh, that you're all dazzling like the sun. It's only because you're covered over by material elements that dazzling, effulgent, original nature is covered up. Just like if you have, a beautiful sparkling jewel or something, but if you throw, blankets over it, the light of it, the effulgence, the light is going to be covered up, or something very bright, even whatever, a light or something. But if you throw blankets or whatever over it, then it's not going to be revealed. So we're like that. So the whole idea is to remove these coverings of Maya illusion, and then we'll get back our original spiritual brilliance and happiness. Exciting, good, lot to look forward to. Okay, so text 7, let's recite that together. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma kurvan api nalipyate. Let's do it another couple times. It's a lovely verse. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma kurvan api nalipyate. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma kurvan api nalipyate. If you just keep going over and over and over and over and over again, you'll drum it into your head. That's the idea, and it'll become easier too. So when you're in the bathroom or something, or you've nothing to do, chant these verses. And or if you're waiting in line for something or like that, a bit bored, then just recite these again and again. And it's very purifying, and the sound vibration is so uplifting, so nice. And then if you understand the meaning, then you'll want to say it again and again. So yoga yukta. So yukta means engaged in yoga. So especially mentioning here bhakti yoga, referring to yoga, of course, there's many kinds of yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, stanga yoga, like that. But here Krishna's especially referring to bhakti yoga. So one engaged in yoga, bhakti yoga, Vishuddhatma is a purified soul. Purified soul. So what does it mean to be a purified soul? Well, in the spiritual world, all the souls do is have loving relationships with the Supreme Personality and each other. So that's our original pure soul. So as soon as we get back to that, even in the material world, if you're developing your loving relationship with the Supreme, if you're connecting with the Supreme, developing your loving relationship with the Supreme through service, then you're a pure soul again. Because that's what a pure soul does. So if you're always chanting the glories of the Lord and remembering him and talking about him and offering your food to him and bowing down to him and all these kind of things, then you're a pure soul. It doesn't matter that you're still stuck in a material body because you're not identifying with the material body. The pure soul is identifying with his original spiritual nature. It just happens that you're traveling around in this material machine. It's just like the driver in the car, right? As long as the driver knows that he's not the car, then it doesn't really matter that you're in a car. You know, you're in the car 1 minute, or you get out of the car and you're in your house, and you get out of the house, you walk on the beach. You know, it doesn't really matter what situation you're in. You know, the main thing is to be in your self-identity, that you're a loving servitor of the Supreme. So that's the pure soul, is one who's always engaged in loving service to the Supreme, is Vishuddha. Shuddha means pure. Atma means the self, pure self. Vishuddha means, if you put V in front, that means very pure. Because Shuddha means pure, but you put the V in front. Have you come across that, Josh, in your Sanskrit studies? Have you put V in front of a word?
I think we talked about this a fair while ago. Yeah, V has like a few different meanings. Sometimes it can mean like parcels.
Okay.
Parcels.
Okay.
Like vijnana versus jnana. Like iterations and series and deliberations, this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, jnana means knowledge, and vijnana often is said to be realized knowledge or applied knowledge, or special knowledge. So yeah, it does. It adds more to the meaning of a word if you put V in front of it. Yeah, mate. Yeah, vijnana is more higher than jnana, because you're actually it's not just theoretical, you're actually using it in your life, you're applying it in your life.
Right.
Yeah. So V increases the meaning of the word that comes after it. Yeah. Vijitatma Jitendriya. This is a hard one. This is the pure soul is Jitendriya. Indriya means the senses. So Jitta means conquer. So one has conquered the senses. And Atma, once again, is the self. Vijit again. Vijit. Like similar. See the word Jitendriya, and then Vijit. So once again, to control. So similar meaning. So self-controlled and then controlling the senses. So this is talking about the transcendentalist as a pure soul, controlling his self-controlled, controlling the senses. This is a very nice one, a nice quality. Sava bhutatma. Very nice. Sava bhutatma. Compassionate to all living entities. So because he's because he loves the Supreme and loves everyone. This is so nice. Someone say, "Oh, you Hare Krishnas, you just love Krishna, you don't care about anyone else." That's not true. No, someone that loves the Supreme automatically loves all the parts and parcels. You have to. If you love the whole, you have to love all the parts. Like if you love your whole body, right, which we do, of course, you love your whole body, right? Gulshan, do you love your whole body?
I do.
You don't even think about it. What's there to think about? So
It's like I love more Krishna than my own body.
I know. You're acting like you're more transcendental than what you are. But that's
No,
right.
not really. I'm just trying.
It's not a trick question. It's okay. So, but if you the point is, if you love your whole body, you love the fingers, right? And you love your toes, and you love your knee, and your elbow, and your nose, and your head. So if you love the whole, obviously you love the parts too. So that's the thing. So the more we develop our love for the absolute truth, for the whole, then naturally, automatically, your love for all the parts improves. Like there was one horrible behaving hunter named Magari, and the great universal traveling preacher Narada Muni bumped into him and brought him to Krishna consciousness. And he used to enjoy torturing animals and not even fully killing them, but just leaving them wounded like that. That was his daily practice. Very vicious natured person. But then after he got engaged by the spiritual master, the guru, and engaged in devotional service, Vigyan, he actually practiced devotional service for a period of time. He got to the point where he didn't even want to hurt an ant. And that's a big change, from torturing animals to you don't even want to hurt an ant. Because when his guru came back with his friend, Narada came with Parvat Muni to check out how the disciples going. And he was the previous ex-hunter was so happy to see his guru that he was running to come to him. And then he was like skipping around all over the place. So wondering why the heck is he like skipping? Why isn't he just running? Because he was actually dodging all the bugs on the ground as he was running. And then then he went to offer his obeisances to bow down. But before that, he swept the ground underneath his body with his clothing because he didn't want to squash the ants. And Narada told his friend, just see the transformation in this guy. Amazing. So it's very powerful, very powerful. If we can actually follow a genuine spiritual practice, genuine sadhana, proper, spiritual practice sadhana, then it's called sadhana bhakti, practice engaging in the practices of bhakti. Some genuine sadhana, spiritual practice, then one becomes very purified and naturally all the good qualities of the soul comes out, which this is one of the original qualities of the soul, is to be compassionate. It's called karuna, to be very compassionate. Karuna, beautiful word. Karunika, very compassionate. Very compassionate. So, and it's mentioned here, Prabhupada in the translation says, is dear to everyone, because naturally if you love everyone, then how are other people going to see you? Because it's mentioned, the word for word says that they're compassionate to everyone, to all living entities. But the translation says it's a bit different. The translation says is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. So it's adding a bit more. So if we are compassionate, how does that relate to that that we become dear to everyone? We love everyone. Okay, very good.
Because they like to be around us.
Yeah, because you become a really nice person. Because you're really caring and affectionate and loving, and naturally people will like you. Most people. Some people might be jealous or envious or whatever, but generally you're gonna have a lot of friends if you genuinely, like, really from your heart love people or love everyone. Generally there's going to be reciprocation. Other people will like us, other people will love us. Generally that will be there naturally. If you're a really nice person, a real gentleman, real gentle lady. Like one time Prabhupada, a person asked Prabhupada, what does it mean to be a devotee? And Prabhupada said, devotee is a perfect gentleman, perfect gentle lady. It means all good qualities. You know, you're tolerant, you're humble, you're compassionate, you're forgiving, you're, you know, all these kind of things. You know, generally people, it's a likable kind of person. You know, so generally, you know, you love everyone. Everyone's dear to you because you see everyone as part and parcel of the person that you love, of the Supreme, and then you become dear to everyone also. I just reminds me, there was one disciple of Prabhupada. His name was Jayananda. Love, just so humble and so affectionate and really helpful and friendly, and, you know, just really nice person. And he used to pick up the veggies and fruit and veggies for the temple, and he used to go to the seller. His name was Banana Louis. It was called Banana King Louis because he obviously sold a lot of bananas. So this.
It's a background sound there. I can't hear it properly. There's some background sound, something. It's very.
But always every now and again, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll try to speak louder and clear. So yeah, Banana King Louis. So he used to go and get bananas from him, and he was such a nice person. The guy would even give him free bananas a lot of the time. Give him free bananas. So then he got leukemia. He got leukemia and died. And then Banana King Louis didn't see him for a long time. And another Hare Krishna came to get bananas. And the Louis said, "Where's Johnny Ananda?" Because he couldn't pronounce Jayananda. So he called him Johnny Ananda. So where's Johnny Ananda? And the devotee said, "Oh, he died. He had leukemia, he died." And the guy just started full on like crying because he loved him. You know, he wasn't a transcendentalist or a devotee or anything. He was just a regular guy. But he loved this devotee just because he was just such a nice person. Such a nice person. So yeah, naturally, if you love everyone, then people will generally like us too. So this is the nature of a transcendentalist. And then it's mentioned here, Kuravan apin alipyate, which means Kuravan means, you know, you're working, you're engaged in activities, but the good thing is apin alipyate means you're not entangled. You're not entangled. Remember, we talked a lot about that previously. That's the problem with karma, with fruitive activities, is that when you do a fruitive activity, you're going to get the result, and that result is entangling. So, but if you act in devotion, then you're not going to get the result of your activity. You're not entangled. That's a wonderful result of bhakti, of being working as a sannyasi, very renounced from the results of your activities. Then automatically, when the body dies, you're not going to have to take birth again. Because remember, that's the reason why we have to take birth again, because we're going to get the result of our activities. Okay. So we'll put that all together, what we just talked about. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Although always working, such a man is never entangled. Okay. Gulshan, would you like to read the purport?
Sure.
Start.
The one who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to a Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being is separated from Krishna, just as leaves and the branches of the tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will distribute to all the leaves and the branches. Or by supplying food to the stomach, and energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is a servant to all. He is very dear to everyone, and because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are all controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in a matter other than the service of Lord. He does not
Okay, let's
like.
just stop there. Let's just stop there. Otherwise, I won't be able to remember. So do you get that? If you get it, where's pure? See, if the mind is fixed on Krishna, then obviously your mind is always going to be controlled. So that's how to control the mind. You keep the mind that you're always thinking, oh, today I'm going to do this work for Krishna. Tomorrow I'm going to do this work for Krishna. Oh, now I have to do this for Krishna. Next I have to do that for Krishna. So it means your mind is always kept under control automatically. Otherwise, what's the mind going to do? It's going to be thinking about sense gratification. Oh, I want this for my tongue, and I want this for my genitals, and I want to make this amount of money, and I want to increase my wealth. And mind is always going to be making plans to get sense gratification, to satisfy the senses. That's what the mind is doing ordinarily in materialistic life. The consciousness, the mind is going to be fixed on trying to get the sense objects for pleasing the senses. But if someone's engaged in serving the Supreme, one's always going to be think about, oh, I want to make a nice garland for pleasing the Supreme, or I want to cook this meal for the Supreme, to sing about the Supreme, like that. So naturally, one's mind is always going to be kept in a very pure state. And then automatically, if the mind is controlled, then automatically the senses are controlled. Because that's the real difficult one, is controlling the senses. But if the mind is properly engaged, then automatically the senses are kept under control. The 5 senses are compared to 5 horses. You know that picture, right, of the horses?
Yeah.
That's very hard to control the horses, right? You got to pull on the reins. So the mind is compared to the reins, and the horse is compared to the senses. So the mind is meant to control the senses. But in materialistic life, it's the other way around. It's the senses control the mind. That's dangerous. If your senses control your mind, dictate to your mind what to do, that's dangerous. The tongue says, I want to taste McDonald's. I want to taste KFC. I want to go to the pub, like that, or I want to the genitals. I want to go to the brothel, or whatever, like that. So if the senses are dictating and the mind is just helplessly following along whatever the senses want, that's a very dangerous life. And then, of course, we get entangled in all the karma, and you're going to get the reactions, and you're going to take birth again, and so things like that. You know, the pictures in the Bhagavad Gita where you've got the person just eating anything and everything, and he becomes, and then it's got a picture of him as in a pig's body. Means in his next life becomes a pig, and the person that's eating the meat, and the next picture is a tiger. Tiger is there because he becomes a tiger, and then there's a picture of the person being naked, like a prostitute, and then next life you see the tree becomes a tree. And there's one more picture. I think there was 4 pictures. I've missed one. But anyway, so depending on how we use the senses is going to depend on what happens to us in the next life. If we misuse them for very low-class selfish activities and bad karma, then we're going to get a not so good body in the next life. But if we always keep our mind fixed on the Supreme through chanting and hearing about the Supreme, remembering the Supreme, and making plans to how to serve like that Supreme, how to serve Krishna, then naturally the senses will come into control and they won't cause us problem. So when the mind becomes fixed on Krishna, then your senses won't be your enemies anymore. Otherwise, they come out terrible enemies and cause us to be entangled in the material world. Okay, so let's continue. Bhakti Mala, do you want to read a bit? He does not like to hear.
He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna, and he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield will continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battle of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting war. Of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of birth.
So it's mentioned here that the devotee of the Lord is not offensive to anyone. Or you could say violent. You could use the word violent, which in Sanskrit is called himsa. Himsa means violence. But then naturally it could be said that well, Arjuna was fighting. It seems like he was very offensive to so many and he killed so many people. But there Prabhupada's explaining here that it's not real offensive because only the bodies were killed, but the soul is not killed, as is mentioned throughout the second chapter, that even when the body is killed, the soul is not killed. Of course, he's not recommending killing bodies, but it's not real violence because when the bodies were killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, because it was under the direction of the Lord, then those souls had a higher birth in the next life. So they actually became elevated spiritually. And minimum, because the Supreme himself was present on the battlefield, minimum, they went to the higher heavenly planets in the next life. And maximum, which it seems like is what happened to most of them, they went directly back to the spiritual world. So that they got liberated, which is called moksha or mukti, liberation, which is not violence. You know, that the soul is progressing, that's definitely not violence. If the soul is going down in the next life, that's violence. Means, you know, if you preserve someone's lifespan for a long period of time, but then in their next life they become a cockroach or a worm or whatever, then that's violence. They're going down further, down, down, down. So it's not a matter of whether the body is dying now or later, which determines violence, but it's determined by whether the soul is going up or down in the next life. That makes it violence. So violence doesn't just mean against the body, but real violence, the most important violence, is the soul. See, if the soul is brought down into a very materialistic consciousness, sex, drugs, rock and roll, eat, drink, and be merry, as what modern society does to us, that's real violence. Does that make sense? Understand what I'm saying? If you send your kids to school, and they get brainwashed that, you know, everything started from a big bang and that you evolved from monkeys and everything, that's violence. But you've actually turned the person away from spirituality. Does that make sense? We've done a great violence against that soul by making them materialistic.
You know, in the last 10 years in Newcastle and in the West, there's been a lot of yoga studios opening up. Right? So like my yoga studio and the style of yoga that I do, this studio has been here for over 20 years. But about 8 years ago, a lot of very commercial sort of yoga studios opened up where it was about fitness and looking good and really, really superficial. You know, not much self-inquiry or contemplation, just very like rah, very distracting, and and I sort of came to realize, because for a long time I was thinking, this is terrible, and it is terrible, but I sort of came to realize that while ever those people that are going have an option to go further, then it is okay, It's like the innocence, I think that those studios and the people that run them are still just a bit ignorant and innocent. They're just doing the yoga that seems to appeal to them. Yeah. And so like that, just what you were saying about like that withholding or giving incorrect information or withholding the deeper truths, is the real sin. And like the motive and the intention behind that, whether you are just ignorant yourself or whether you are actually creating an obstacle. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that, Josh. Yeah, it's happening in yoga circles. It happens in all kind of circles. That people's natural spiritual inquisitiveness and interest is being squashed and suppressed, or they're being misdirected. They're being sent in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Do you know, when I was teaching at one of those, very like those studios with lots of mirrors everywhere, and they're playing music in the yoga class. Yeah. And this young man, he said to me after the class, because I was the teacher, and he said, "Hey, I've been really enjoying yoga. It's been really great. And did you know that in yoga sometimes there is meditation as well?" And I was like, yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah, so a lot of spiritual babies out there. Yeah. And they're being kept like that, and they're unfortunately being kept like that. And some people are consciously keeping them like that, and some people are unconsciously doing it. In Sanskrit, it's called Andhar Yatantar Upagyaminad, which means the blind leading the blind. So it's said to be a symptom of Kali Yuga, that you've got, blind means ignorant. So you've got ignorant people leading other ignorant people. Both the teacher and the student are, both spiritually ignorant. I mean, you've got sometimes people, they know better, but they purposefully keep the people under them ignorant, and that's even more worse.
That's that tricky bit, isn't it? Because you see it in religion as well. When you start like monetizing it and making it a commercial for-profit endeavor, when that becomes like the primary focus, then these compromises have to be made, and
it's easier to control ignorant people. It's hard to control smart people. So a lot of real evil people, they profit from keeping people ignorant. And governments do that, and kings used to do that.
And this kind of people, always in the society, it was, they are, they will be.
I mean, that's obviously the general tendency in the material world, you know, tamagun, ignorance, and rajagun, passion. But even though that is the way the material goes, still, a transcendentalist tries to go against that. I mean, it's like trying to swim upstream. I agree, it's difficult, but we have to try.
I mean, it's no need to talk to Mayavadi. Just, no need to saying what they're doing. Let them, whatever. But like, if we, tell them or, preaching or tell them that, it's like we're talking to Mayavadi, which is shouldn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can deal with them, but you're dealing with them might be to give them like sanctified foodstuffs. And that's a great service to a Mayavadi, because like I said, generally their process is very dry. There's not much flavor there. So if you give them some yummy food, then you'll become very dear to them, like it's mentioned here. Like me, I mean, I think I became dear to a lot of people like in Newcastle, mainly due to the food, due to feeding people. I'm sure Gulshan has become very dear to a lot of people through feeding them. So you don't have to talk philosophy to everyone. We're selective about who we talk philosophy to.
Definitely.
So
it's not everybody like me. Like if I 100 people, if I serve them, definitely 5 or 10 people will, you can't please everyone, but they are in the society, these kind of people. Nothing much I can do.
Yeah. So yeah, it's difficult in Kali Yuga. It's definitely an uphill battle. There's a lot of mode of ignorance and passion, tamagun, rajagun, and sattvagun, mode of goodness, is very rare. But we have to push that forward, try to live in the mode of goodness as much as we can, and we try to help others, like it's mentioned here, compassionate to all living entities. We don't want to give up and not being compassionate anymore. We should be, even though you might think, well, I'm not getting much results. I mean, not many people are not able to help many people. But we have to try, and at the very least, even if no one takes an interest or seems to be benefited, but definitely at the very least, the Supreme Lord Paramatma is always watching.
Yeah,
everyone is
Paramatma wants to see your intention. If your intention is pure to help someone, that's it. Whether he take help or not does not matter. Your intention, that matters.
He's going to be very pleased that we're making an effort to try to help the other parts and parcels, and we've become very dear to the Lord. So that in itself is complete success, even if no one else takes an interest. And I guarantee there will be some. Oh,
definitely.
But even if no one did, it still would be a success, because the Supreme will be happy with us. And then that's our perfection right there. And anyone else that takes to it's a bonus, so we shouldn't give up, trying to do some compassionate activities, working for the welfare of others. That's very important, and that has a very good effect on our heart. When you care about others and try to uplift others, that has a very positive effect on our heart. And if you just care about yourself and you try to make your life better, even spiritually, not to speak of just materially, of course, people do, but even spiritually, if you just care about your own spiritual upliftment and you don't care about the spiritual upliftment of anyone else, then that person is not regarded as a very advanced transcendentalist. He's a beginner transcendentalist. Because all the more advanced transcendentalists, they always care about the spiritual upliftment of other living entities. It's automatically part of the life of an advanced devotee of the Lord. Naturally, they're going to care about others, and they want to help others, advance spiritually.
Really, at some point, we all have to go up together, don't we?
Yeah.
One person left behind is hurting all of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we see everyone as our spiritually, we're all brothers and sisters. So we care about all our brothers and sisters. We want to help as many as we can. And that's our duty. And that should be in our heart, naturally like that. So very, very caring, very affectionate like that. But once again, we're not attached to results. So you might work very hard to help someone else. and and you don't actually help them, and in a particular case maybe, but that doesn't matter. You don't be attached. You just do your duty. You just love, as a matter of duty, you love, and then whether you get reciprocation or no reciprocation, that doesn't matter. If you're attached to getting a particular result, you try to help someone and you expect reciprocation from them in a particular way, then that's like business.
Fruitive action.
We don't want to do business with souls. We unconditionally, we just love. We love everyone unconditionally. You might offer them namaste or give them a hug or whatever, and they might spit in your face, but that doesn't matter. You still love them. As I think in Christianity, I think in terms of Jesus, they say, he said, turn the other cheek. So very tolerant. See, along with compassion, another very important quality that must be there along with compassion. See, compassion means your love for others and trying to help others, work for the welfare of others. Along with that quality, there must be another quality called tolerance. Because when you're acting compassionately, sometimes people don't take it, very well or whatever, and you might get abused or something like that. And I've had that when going around trying to distribute, spiritual books like Bhagavad Gita, and sometimes people verbally abuse you or physically abuse you like that. And what do? Do you get angry back or whatever? No, you just tolerate. So those, there's a lot of qualities that have to come together. And along with that also, it has to be humility. How can you act compassionately and be so tolerant unless you're humble? If you're proud and then someone says, I got no time for you, just F off or whatever like that, and then, unless you're humble, you're not going to take that very well. So just by doing these activities, acting for the welfare of others, acting compassionately, then it's very purifying, and these qualities will slowly develop in us. It'll force you to become more humble. It'll force you to become more tolerant, more compassionate, like that. Just by practicing these things, even if you really don't feel compassionate. I don't feel I love everyone. Do I have to do it? Yeah, you should still do it. You should still do something for others, even if you don't feel like it. The idea is, if you practice doing these very good, pure activities, like compassionate activities, then slowly your heart will become purified, and then the feeling will come. So don't think, I've got to wait for the feeling to come first and then I'll do the activity. No, that's not the way that sadhana works. Sadhana means you do the practice, you do the activity, and then later on, when you get purified enough, then the feelings will come. Does that make sense? I'll give you one example. One man, he was coming to hear Prabhupada speak, and when they were chanting and stuff. So he was watching what everyone was doing. He noticed at a certain point, all the disciples and that, they bowed down to Prabhupada. They bow down. That's part of the practice to help develop humility, is to physically bow your head on the ground. So that helps us to develop humility, that we're the servant and like that, and develop appreciation and great gratitude to our teacher. Some respect, develop respect for the teacher. Respect for the teacher is very important. Otherwise, how are you going to learn anything from the teacher if you don't respect the teacher? So anyway, that practice is part of the sadhana. And so he put his hand up. I see everyone's bowing down to you, but I don't feel like bowing down to you. I feel it'd be artificial for me to bow down to you when I don't have any real feeling for you, appreciation or whatever for you. I think it'd be better if when I wait till the feeling comes, and when I really have that respect for you or whatever, then I'll bow down. And Prabhupada said, no. Prabhupada said, you should bow down. And just by bowing down, gradually the feeling will come. gradually the feeling will come. If you think that the feeling is going to come without doing anything, without doing any proper practice, you're an illusion. It's never going to come. It's never going to come. It's never going to come. Because we're impure, we're contaminated. So in a contaminated state, you're not going to get pure feelings. The only way you're going to get these pure, original feelings of the soul is by acting in a very pure way. And then we're going to become purified. And then the feelings will come. Does that make sense? When you want to say anything about that? All good?
So it's like the mango on the branch, which when it's getting juicy and juicy, and the branch is down and down.
Yes, heavily laden with fruits. Yeah, so
lot of plenty of juices there went down, and you just okay.
Yeah, it's said that a spiritually advanced person is like a heavily fruit laden tree, that he automatically bows down, just like the like you said, with a tree heavy with the mango fruit or whatever fruit is naturally bowing down. So the advanced devotee is always very humble too, like that, and he has the fruits heavily laden with the fruits of humility and tolerance and compassion.
It takes time.
All of this, yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
I'm trying to grow some mango trees here. They've only grown about, since the 3 months, about 2 centimeters.
What sort of mango is it? What kind?
Alfonso.
Alfonso? Yeah, that's good for the lassi. That's what we're buying.
Yep, Kesar.
Kesar, oh.
Yep, and one other one, I can't remember the name, so 3 different kinds. Yeah. But yeah, slow progress, so it's like that. Anything good, it takes time.
It'll take a couple of years, I think 2-3 years started giving a fruit, or?
Oh, a lot more than that.
Oh, okay.
A lot more than that, yeah. Maybe in Australia, it grows faster. Yeah.
Because you know what happened this year? Because of the mango, they started coming the flower, and then a big wind and came the tornado. All the trees that don't have mangoes here. We had a tree in the backyard, and Bhakti tree, and there's one tree next door to my neighbor. She always given a mango, and then she said that's all flowers are gone. There's nothing, and even one that Shamananda's Prabhu, I just go there home, and this says yes, this year we're not getting any mango because all the flowers are. The wind just took it. What happened? There's no mango. And even the woolies as well, there's no mango. It's very less quality, like, very few, and I don't know what happening.
If you get that wild weather when the delicate flowers are forming, then that's it. Nothing.
Yeah, there was big storm happening here, and then I don't know. Oh, well, I was waiting for sweetest mango, but I guess I'm gonna get a miss this year.
Yes, so that's detachment. We have to practice detachment from mangoes. And
I was waiting for summer juicy mangoes. I like my weakness.
Yeah, when they're here, you enjoy them, and when they're not there, then
that's right.
You got to be happy, but be happy from within.
Right. Yes, I was.
So we want to learn. We want to learn the art of how to become happy from the inside, because becoming happy on the outside, that's always up and down, up and down.
It's like trying to become a sum. Sum means equal.
Yes. And when the mango is there, we appreciate that the delicious flavor of the mango has come from the Supreme, come from Krishna. That he has put that wonderful taste there. So every situation, we try to take it in a transcendental kind of way. That Krishna is arranging this year that we didn't get any mangoes.
Yeah, no, it's
so that way.
So it's happened 23 times, and after 23 times, this atheist is there down. He says, "Look, I'm sorry, but what's the reason of your, tolerance?" He said, "No, I want to say thank you because of your spitting on me. I got the The God can get you. I'm lucky. Thank you. That's a true tolerance.
Mm. So in this verse, we're learning about the behavior and the qualities of a transcendentalist. So for two reasons, this is important. Why is this important to know the qualities of a transcendentalist? Two reasons that I can think of why it's important. So one quality mentioned here, working in devotion. Work in devotion. Motivated by love for the Supreme, that's why we work. That's why the transcendentalist works. Just like the mother is motivated. Everything the mother does is motivated by love for her child. She's cooking.
So his senses are controlled.
Or washing the kids' clothes, or cleaning the house, or everything she does is just filled up with love for her child. In the same way, for a bhakti yogi, every activity he does is motivated by feelings of love for the Supreme and service to the Supreme. So working in devotion, a beautiful quality. And pure soul, control the mind and senses, and dear to everyone dear to him, and never entangled by our actions. So it's important to know these things, because remember, very essential to progress in spiritual life, we need to hear from a spiritual teacher. We need to hear from a spiritual teacher. That's very important. The previous chapter was transcendental knowledge. So that's essential. You can't progress in spiritual life without transcendental knowledge. And the reason why we're suffering in the material world is because of ignorance. So how do you counteract that ignorance, get out of ignorance? Is with transcendental knowledge. The next question is, where are you going to get the transcendental knowledge from? You're going to get transcendental knowledge from a transcendentalist, from a guru, a spiritual master. Okay, who is a spiritual master? How do you know who's a spiritual master? By these qualities mentioned here and others. This is how you're going to identify who is a bona fide spiritual master. So for that reason, it's very important that we read and hear and understand verses like this, so we know what the criteria are for a spiritual teacher. And those are the people that we want to approach. Now I'm approach like, I'm ignorant of who I am and why I'm here. Please, Guru, Maharaj, please enlighten me, how I can get free from suffering in this material world. So you want to approach the right person and ask your questions to the right person. Otherwise, like we mentioned before, you get misdirected. If you approach the wrong person, then they'll make you more worse. Like one devotee was having a little bit of trouble, and he went to a psychologist. And what did the psychologist say? What direction did the psychologist give? Oh, the reason why you're having trouble is because you don't eat meat and not having any sex. If you just eat meat and have sex, then all your problems will go away.
That's what the doctor said to me as well. And so now I went there again. I said, look at my face. Can you see any iron deficiency or any weakness in my face and my body? He said, no. I said, what happened then? It's 4 years. I'm not having any meat or anything. I should be dead by now.
Yeah.
But he was quiet,
Yeah. So these are fools, So if you approach a fool, then you're also a fool. So we don't want to be fooled. Then you have to know what the criteria is of a proper bona fide spiritual teacher. So very important. And for another reason, it's very important that we know this, because we want to become like this. We should want to become like this. This is our goal. Prayojana. Prayojana means goal. This is our goal. We want to come to this stage where we are working in devotion, where every action we do is an act of devotion, an act of love. And that's what's going to satisfy our heart. And that's what's going to help us to develop nice relationships with everyone. And we want to come to the point where we can control our senses, which are out of control, and control our mind, which is out of control. So we want to get to this point. So this is helping us to fix our consciousness. This is where I want to be. Okay, now what do I have to do to come to this point where I can control my mind and senses? So then there's a procedure. There are spiritual practices that are going to help us come to this point. And then you just take it up. And therefore, the spiritual master, what will the spiritual master say? Chant Hare Krishna. Because this helps us to purify our consciousness. It's mentioned here, right? Pure soul, Vishuddhatma. How do you actually become a pure soul? One of the most, tangible, practical things you can do to become a pure soul, Vishuddhatma, is by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is recommended. Because Chaito Darpana Marjanam, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared 500 years ago, he said that the chanting, it cleanses the consciousness, cleanses the mind. Chaita is another name for mind. Chaito Darpana. Darpana means mirror. So the mind is compared to a mirror, which you can see, like a mirror, you can see yourself with a mirror. But if the mirror is covered with dust, then you can't see yourself, isn't it? Can't see yourself. So, and marjanam means cleaning. So cleaning the mirror of the mind, cleaning the mirror of the mind. So if we can clean our mind, then it becomes like a mirror that you can see yourself, your self-realization. You'll achieve self-realization. You'll be able to perceive your true self if the mind becomes cleaned. And then it becomes like a mirror. And how to clean it is especially recommended, especially in Kali Yuga. This chanting process is recommended. In Dwapara Yuga, there was another process recommended, temple worship. And in Treta Yuga, that yagya, fire sacrifices were recommended. And in Satya Yuga, dhyan, meditation was recommended in the forest. Going alone in the forest, solitary life in the forest, practicing yoga and meditation. So that was recommended in Satya Yuga. Treta Yuga, different process for self-realization. As I mentioned, yagya, fire sacrifice, then temple worship, Dwapara Yuga, now Kali Yuga. And Harinam Sankirtan is recommended. To come together congregationally and chant loudly these holy names of the Supreme. So that's the recommended process for cleaning the mind, purifying, becoming a pure soul. This is the process recommended now. So if we seriously take up the process, then what will happen is that slowly become purified. The more better quality, of course, that we do our chanting, then the purification will happen faster. Like that. If we chant with not so much concentration, absorption, and so forth, with being distracted and not very attentive, then the cleaning will be a bit slower, but still will get purified, but more slowly. So we should try to take up the process very seriously, and then we'll become purified. And then automatically, like I said, when the mind is controlled through the chanting process, then the senses will become controlled. That will happen. And then we'll get free from all of our entanglement, and then no more birth again. And that's the perfection of life.
That's our goal.
Yeah. The perfection of human life is said to be that we can get out of the cycle of birth and death. We can get liberated. And the other species, other than human, generally don't get liberated from the other species. Only from the human life, generally, we get liberated from this cycle of birth and death, samsara. So this is a very great opportunity in the human form that we can get free from all kinds of entanglement What is it? What is it? What are we entangled in? It's important to know. What is the entanglement? Generally, the four main things is said to be birth, old age, disease, and death. So that's janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. This is the main entanglement. These are the main miseries: birth and death, and in between is old age and disease. So this is entanglement for the soul. This is a very unnatural situation for the soul to be stuck in this material body, which takes birth and grows old and gets sick and dies. So this is entangling. So, but in human form of life, although we're entangled in this body, but this is the body that can help us to get free from the entanglement. So we're using this human body to get free from the human body. Is it like to get? It said, how do you get a thorn out of your body? You use another thorn.
Yeah.
You use a thorn to pick out a thorn. So we're using this human body to get rid of the body. No more
Animal
bodies.
facing the same thing as well as birth, old age, disease, and death.
What was it? I missed the first part of what you said.
Animal as well, going through that birth.
Yeah, every species goes through those four miseries.
Only difference is that animal doesn't complain and the human complain.
They suffer to different degrees.
Suffer, of course, suffer.
I mean, some of them are not very conscious of the pain and pleasure, like in a tree's body or like that, or some small bugs or whatever like that. Not very conscious, but they still do. They still do. I mean, I mentioned before, one scientist did an experiment with plants in greenhouses. He put some of the plants in a greenhouse with heavy metal kind of music, another one with rock and roll, another one with classical music. The ones with classical grew really well, with the rock and roll grew a little bit, and the ones with the heavy metal kind of stuff, they died. So, I mean, the fact that they died from a particular kind of music means that they were perceiving and they were getting some painful experience from that sound, that to the point where they died. They didn't get physically touched, but it was just that sound, harsh sound, that caused the plants to die. So they do perceive pleasure and pain to different degrees. But there is some consciousness there. There is some consciousness there of pleasure and pain. Yeah. But the real difference with the human form of life is that we can achieve self-realization. We can develop our transcendental experience, transcendental life, progress in transcendental life. So that's the real difference. Birth, death, old age, disease, that's there in all species. Pleasure and pain is there in all species. And eating is there in all species. Sleeping, mating, defending, fear is there in all species. But the big difference in the human life, we have a more highly developed consciousness, which is perfect for asking the deeper questions. Who am I, and why am I here, and why am I suffering, and what's the solution? How do I get out of here? Like in the other species, they don't ask these kind of questions. As the Vedanta Sutra says, Atato Brahma Jijnasa. Brahma means spiritual, and Jijnasa means inquiries or inquisitiveness. So only the human life are we potentially inquisitive for understanding the topics of Brahman, spiritual topics. No other species has any inquisitiveness or interest in spiritual life. And as you see, modern day society, even hardly any human beings have any interest in spiritual life. And that's characteristic of Kali Yuga, that our spiritual potential is greatly suppressed by the atmosphere that we live in, of materialism and ignorance. So yeah, it's not easy. But the good news is, because it is so difficult in this modern age of Kali Yuga to progress spiritually, the process has been made very simple. You can't get a more simple process for liberation than the one recommended in Kali Yuga, this Harinam Sankirtan, to congregationally chant the mantras. It's such an easy process, such a simple process, because we're not very highly qualified spiritually. We're not highly qualified yogis and meditators going off to the forest all alone for hundreds of years and so forth. We're not highly qualified at doing elaborate fire sacrifices and having lots of gold paraphernalia to do it with. We don't have the wealth, and we're not qualified at, building temples and maintaining them. We don't have the money or the know-how or anything, and doing temple worship and everything and like that. So we're not qualified doing all the other things, but it was just a simple process of chanting these mantras. And it said we can get the same benefit that they got in previous ages from following different processes. We can get this of getting free from entanglement and liberation. We can get the same benefit in this age just through this Harinam Sankirtan process. So that's the good news. Because it is difficult to go on the spiritual path, because so many obstacles in Kali Yuga, that the process is very easy, very simple.
But in this Kali Yuga, it's easy.
Yes.
In the Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, it's like you have to be, thousands of years to get.
Yeah.
Here in Kali Yuga is easy. Just Harinam and then that's it. How easy is that?
Valmiki, who was the compiler of the Ramayana.
He waited 60,000 years.
Yeah. 60,000 years of severe.
And that was a which Yuga?
Meditating.
Yeah, so
it's obviously such a Yuga.
Kali Yuga, it's very easy. A lot of they came in Kali Yuga to get liberated. Kali Yuga is easy.
Yes. So we're very lucky. We should feel ourselves very fortunate.
Yeah, we're very lucky in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just gave that, I don't know any Sanskrit. I don't know any shloka. I don't know anything. All I know, japa. That's it.
That's all you have to know. Everything else is an option extra.
Something can stop me to doing japa, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether I'm driving, whether I'm eating, whether I'm sharing, whether I'm serving, nobody can stop me to do japa. That's it. Easy. Yeah. How easy is that? It can't be easier than that.
Yeah. And you can do it in any condition. That's the beauty of it.
That's
in
right.
The morning and the night, inside, outside, sitting down, standing up, stand on your head if you like. You can do anything if you're healthy.
That's the thing. How easy is that?
Educated, uneducated. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, you don't need to do a rocket science or any PhD or things like that. We went there to helping that. I don't know if you know Charu. Do you know Charu?
Yes, I do. She was helping
I did that relocate her house, and it's got a lot of books in that house. And then she stayed with the husband, and the husband was there as well, taking the possession of the house, and lots of books. And she did a PhD, and husband also a doctor and all that. Oh, I said, that many books I've never seen in my life, and never read that. Only one book I read, which is Bhagavad Gita. And he says, that's the only one I didn't read. The husband was saying, I said, man, you got to read that. You don't need to worry about all that, man. Tons of books. They're both doing the PhD, double PhD.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to do other things, that's their choice. That's free choices there. We can't force. But the thing is, if somehow or other they can include,
at the end, they come to Bhagavad Gita no matter what. This life, next life, 60,000, 50,000, they're gonna come here no matter what, isn't it?
Yeah. But no, what we can recommend is people include the chanting process or reading Bhagavad Gita along with their other practices. So if they like reading other things or studying, they can let them, continue that if that's what you want to do. But please, add some of Bhagavad Gita in, add some chanting in.
No question exists in the world, it doesn't have an answer in Bhagavad Gita. So
that's a fact.
How easy is that? Everything.
Yeah.
But it's done a tremendous job, and then it's so easy. That's it. 1 page a day. That's it.
Yeah.
So the time is short, know whenever, knocking on the door, time to go. When the time to go does not matter what we earned, what we had, or what we did. Time to go.
So that's what really accelerates our spiritual progress, is that consciousness that death is approaching.
Yeah, every day, every minute, every
really
second.
Makes us more serious.
The minute you're born, you will start your journey towards the death.
So that perception that our death is coming up really accelerates our progress, which is a very good thing.
Definitely.
If we forget about our death, then generally we become very lazy about spiritual life. Oh, later on I will get serious about spiritual life when I'm old.
Yeah, this is a lot of people, they just saying, like, I was talking to my family as well. Oh, when I retire, I do that. I said, that is a very, dumb ever heard, because you don't know, you make it to retirement. You may not be then.
Of course, yeah.
So, that is, anyway.
Whether it's coronavirus or a car accident or a heart attack or what, it can happen anytime, any of the stuff,
Pretty much.
And, whether it, I could have been bitten by a spider and died, it could happen.
You're lucky there was a white tail, not a redback.
Yeah, lucky it wasn't a redback or something. So, yeah, it can happen anytime. So we have to realize that, and that can make us more serious about our spiritual practices, which is a great thing. So it's a blessing in disguise, that we get that realization that death can come at any time.
3 years ago, I was about to depart.
Yeah.
It wasn't my time. Krishna says, no, I just put the sword around you. If I want to kill you, I'll kill you. I'll get the terminal, and then, stage 4, bye. I don't. He just put the sword around, and then I just opened my eyes and said, wow.
Yeah. So we can see that from your own example, that's when you became very accelerated.
I was going 110 on in a highway. This is my property, that's my jet ski, that's my sports car, this. And then all of a sudden the road end. I said, oops. It's just, oh my God. The road end. Oh my God, what I'm doing. There's things like, I do have a few opportunity come after that as well, to another cafe, and I'll say thank you, no thank you, no thank you. So if I'm happy serving here, if it's not here, then there'll be temple or anywhere, just a service. I just, you don't know, like till now as well, it may be, something growing in the body, and then
yeah. Of course, for a devotee, we're not worried about death.
No, we're not worried about that. That's
because
right.
we know we're eternal. And if they're eternal, then what's there to be afraid of? But we don't want to waste this valuable life.
But sometimes, sometimes the Krishna teaches you, where are you going, mate? What are you selling? Come here. And sometimes we blind people, and then it teaches you, okay, this is okay. I did not know that. I was in Sydney. If I did life in Sydney, I wouldn't even come here. So it was the way the process was there, but I wasn't listening. And then Krishna, turned around to show me the sword around me, and then I listened. I said, oops. So sometimes people are blind, like I was blind. It happens.
Yeah. So Krishna opened up your eyes in that way.
I was sleeping. It's awakening kind of things.
Yeah.
I was sleeping 48 years. Now I'm awake. I can see that. Before that, I didn't. My wealth and my business, I couldn't see anyone else. And the bodies and all that. I was sleeping. No, he said, about it. That's what I'm here for, collecting all the toys. He said, I'm here for. Or is there something else in the life? Then it started. And then it happens there. Then I meet you. And then all the books I've seen, that AC Bhaktivedanta, I thought maybe Abhicharan wrote all these books. And I was just getting so much. Honest to God, like I was thinking all you, and I was just really, I said, what a great man. And I was just looking, and then one day somebody opened my eyes again. Yes, look at it.
I didn't want
it. I'm still It's good. But
Okay, that's about it from me.
yeah,
Josh,
thank you very
would you like to
much.
say anything, Josh? Oh, you're welcome, of course, Sean.
No, it's okay. All that, one verse, and then I can absorb, I can chew, I can swallow, I can process that.
Yeah.
If it's a little bit too much, it's hard to. So same
Yes.
verse, I'll read again. Then I finish the class. When you go to the school, and teacher will tell, if you don't do a homework at home, same chapter, you maybe miss some.
Yeah.
So I'll just do that verse again, and then
start off thinking about that beautiful phrase, work and devotion. Doesn't it sound good? Work and devotion.
I'm looking that I'm not really doing any service. When I look at the temple, they get up in the morning, no matter what weather is it, for Mangalati, have a shower, and then come to the altar. And that is austerity. I'm standing in the glory jeans, and like now is that here in the Bhakti tree, just asking the customer. It's like the austerity that temple people do. That is phenomenal. That is real. I wish if I can do one day.
Yeah, we get inspired by others, watching others, get inspiration from them, good examples. Hey, right. Josh, you want to like to say anything, Josh, before we wrap up?
I like in the purport, I like the man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. Last one, So, in my like development as a teacher, it's been slow for me to become comfortable being firm with people. Because it's not natural to do that. You want, you're attached to being liked or to how people might feel, this kind of thing. But sometimes you just got to, the information needs to be communicated.
Yes, definitely. And
actually,
one of the meanings of guru, spiritual teacher, guru, means heavy. Actually, guru, one of the meanings of guru means heavy.
That's the main meaning of guru, is weighty, heavy.
Very weighty, heavy. So they can deal with you in quite a heavy weight. So, but that's out of love. That's necessary. Discipline is necessary.
But it also it's just like it revealed to me like an attachment to, that I was willing to not deliver needed information because of my own personal attachment to having smoothness and smiles at all times, and sometimes it just needs to be quick. Let's go, bam.
Yes.
It's like my father used to race boats, like sailing boats, 16-foot skiffs, and he would always be yelling on the boat. And these are very fast boats, and sails and masts and booms, very kind of dangerous as well. And he would always yell like, "Josh, do this now!" And I used to get very upset with him for doing that. But sometimes, some jobs, some moments in life, you need to communicate very quickly something that's very important.
Yes.
And this is the Arjuna's struggle, right? He has to do something that's a little bit uncomfortable.
Yes.
And this spiritual life you have to a lot of patience. It's not fast food, everything fast. Just the patience, and then it'll become absorbed automatically. But Josh, you don't come to the restaurant anymore. What happening? I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, I just what is happening? I mean, I don't eat much at all, really. I just eat a very small dinner,
Really? You must be getting skinnier and skinnier. You was already skinnier, but
yeah. I mean, I just don't eat much, but and then when I do, I like to cook because it's nice, I like to cook. But have you still got butter paneer on the menu every day?
Of course we do.
Not on the weekends, or
not on the weekend only, because the weekend we have a like a South Indian special. You take the puri masala with the ghee.
Yeah.
But weekdays we do.
That's the only time, because I'm also teaching in the evenings. Like that's the only time that I would get to the bhakti trees on the weekend.
We are on the menu log as well. You can order in the menu log butter paneer masala.
Yeah. I think that's going to have to be it. I'll have to come in on the weekend and get takeaway.
Okay, yeah.
Or come in
Sure.
during the week to get takeaway because I really want some butter paneer.
Yeah, sure. Or send your the girlfriend. She can take away something for you.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, that's right. But if you want to come and dine in on the weekend, we're still open. It's I think by 20th will be the last day. So it's 3 more weekends to go.
Have you got butter paneer on the menu right now, like today?
Yes, in the menu. Yes, we do have it right now. You can go to see even menu log, or you can come in.
Can you put aside some butter paneer for me? Today?
Yeah, sure. 1 serve.
2 serves.
Yeah. How many?
2 serves.
2 serve. Okay, I'll go around 5 o'clock. When I go there, I'll put aside 2 for you. That's okay. And
all
take
right.
away.
And then I will come Saturday afternoon. Is that okay?
Or do you want me to put it aside for you till Saturday?
Yeah.
Not appropriate to eating the food for 2 days after. It's not recommended by Ayurveda, and we have got a teacher here, Abhay Charan.
No, you can. You can. I mean, something like that you could. That'd be okay for a couple of days.
Unless you can pick it up today and you can freeze it.
Yeah.
Because we cook it today.
No, I mean, that would last in the fridge for 2 days. That's no problem. It's up to you.
All right, I can put two serve aside for you, so you can come and pick it up Saturday.
Leave it up to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be
You want me to put a 2 serve side for you today?
Yeah, I'll try and come in tomorrow and pick it up. But if
yeah, sure. I'll put it aside in the cool room. That's fine. 2 serve. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. All right.
Thank you.
Anything for you, Abhay Charan, Prabhuji?
What did you say, Gulshan?